In the past year, this concept has been brewing in my head that seasoning is not always commutative. What I mean by that is that salt plus acidity is not always the same as acidity plus salt. Adam Ragusa touched on this subject in his legendary video, Why I Season My Cutting Board and Not My Steak. I know you all have been laughing your head off. Quite frankly, the joke's on you guys, because Adam brought up a very interesting concept that went right over the head of most of his viewers. The order in which the seasoning hits your palate matters. Okay, I'm not on board with everything Adam does in that video, but he is trying to draw your attention to something all great cooks do intuitively but never discuss. The simplest way to explain the commutative property is addition. 2 plus 4 is the same as 4 plus 2. Multiplication is also commutative, but subtraction and division are not. In other words, 2 minus 4 is different from 4 minus 2. Intuitively, people expect seasoning to be commutative. By seasoning, I mean stuff that you can taste. Saltiness, sweetness, acidity, bitterness, and umami. The two tastes that we as cooks are constantly adjusting are salt and acidity. Any good cook knows to taste their food before serving and add a sprinkle of salt here and a squirt of lemon there, but I haven't seen much thought given to the order. Is adding salt and then lemon the same as adding lemon and then salt? Sometimes, but not always. Two things happened to make me realize that. The first was my own seasoning mistake, and the second was my students' seasoning mistake. I'll tell you about my mistake first. Very often, when I am cooking green veggies like green beans or asparagus or kale, I'll salt them, taste them, get the salt just right, and then add a squirt of lemon or a drizzle of pomegranate molasses or balsamic vinegar. Mix that in, taste again, and feel like I need more salt. Some of it is not surprising. Salt needs to match the acidity of the dish. More acidic dishes usually require more salt to feel balanced. But there was more to it than that. Even when I salted very heavily, knowing that the acidity is coming, the dish still felt off once that splash of acidity landed on it. So I decided to try something different. I held back about 30% of the salt and added it after that final splash of lemon. And that really helped. When I put that green bean in my mouth, I didn't get hit by flat sourness. I got nice, well-rounded seasoning. So yeah, the order in which the seasoning hits your mouth counts. What made me think about all this is a conversation I had with a student last year when all my classes were online because of COVID. Let's call him Harold. He was taking a vegetable class, and most of my vegetable dishes had some variation of a vinaigrette mixed into them in the end. And Harold kept sending me pictures of making these dishes with a little bit of dressing drizzled on top instead of integrated into the salad. When I asked him about it, he said that he didn't like salad dressing and acidity in general, so he kept them on the side. He told me that even that little bit that he drizzled on top was unpleasant, confirming his theory that salad dressings are evil. I heard a similar story from students who hate salt. They don't salt their food as they cook. Instead, they put out a little container of some expensive chunky salt like fleur de sel on the table and add a little pinch as they eat. And even that little pinch ends up being too much for them, confirming their theory that salt is evil. Okay, my friends, think about it. When you save your disliked ingredient for that final drizzle or sprinkle, that's the first thing that hits your palate. Basically, it's an assault on your taste buds. When I integrate my dressing thoroughly into my salad, my dressing is not even 1 millimeter thick, and it has salt and acidity completely integrated, giving it that roundness. But if there is a 2 millimeter blob of dressing on top of a couple of lettuce leaves, of course that's going to be unpleasant. I don't know of anything more awful than a salad served with a little dish of dressing on the side. To me, that's an equivalent of serving a cake with vanilla extract on the side. That's not cool. Seasoning liquid food like soups and sauces and seasoning solid food like proteins and vegetables works somewhat differently. In liquid foods, seasoning is commutative and you can add salt and acidity in any order. In solid foods, you can create completely different effects with different order of salt and acidity. With these foods, saving your least favorite ingredient for the end as a little sprinkle or drizzle is asking for trouble. If they are last in, they're first out. That's the first thing that will hit your tongue and it won't be pleasant. Based on my YouTube stats, no one really gives a damn about what I have to say on salt and acidity. And everyone wants to know what I think about seasoning your cutting board. Okay, I'll humor you. Here we go. Helen reacts to Adam's cutting board video. Some of ideas in that video are great. Adding some grated garlic, lemon juice, butter, and herbs to your meat as soon as it's out of the pan is a great idea. I like it way more than marinating the meat in these ingredients before cooking. Many years ago, I used this concept in my rack of lamb video. I find it's more effective to rub the garlic into the meat first because it needs more heat than the other ingredients, otherwise it can be too sharp. If you are adding acidity after cooking, yes, you should definitely add some salt too. You don't want the first thing to hit your taste buds to be lemon juice. You want it to be salt. Huge chunks of salt are not my thing. I would prefer salt that would dissolve in the lemon and meat juices. But obviously, you do you. As far as not salting the meat at all before cooking, I can't really comment on that. I've never tried it. I mostly salt before cooking and only a little after. As far as cutting up the steak first and then letting it rest, I think that's questionable. I would move all that seasoning from Adam's cutting board to a warm plate, coat the steak in it and let it rest first. Then move it to a cutting board to slice and coat in all those juices. This gives the internal temperature a chance to even out. Otherwise, either the inside will be undercooked or the outside will be overcooked. And cooking a thick steak in a skillet with one flip is not my cup of tea. I like reverse sear, but that method could work well for a thin steak, like skirt steak. Even if this video is somehow helpful, please consider making fun of me and turning it into a meme. Forget liking and subscribing. When it comes to the bottom line on YouTube, ridicule is much more effective than praise. That's why I talk about Adam and not about seasoning. Here are more thought-provoking culinary videos for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.